All right, welcome to the Underdog Ecom podcast, where two ecom brand founders are figuring out in real time.
Yeah, we're not here to preach. We're here in the thick of it, making mistakes, testing all sorts of ideas, and really sharing the journey of how we've been growing these brands from day zero. Hopefully you learn a little bit, perhaps come away with some ideas that save you time and money. And so if you're tired of the same glittery D2C advice from those 9-figure gurus, you're here in the right place.
Let's get into it.
So, I've been following that Shopify just released B2B, and this has been like a plus feature for as long as I've been on Shopify. I imagine for you as well. I was so surprised when that news came through, and I think this is a big win for smaller merchants.
Yeah, it did kind of come out of left field. I saw the email and I was like, wait, for my business, I'm not on Plus. What's going on here? Is this a mistake? Definitely pretty wild, because we've talked about B2B and wholesale before. Obviously, they're big parts of our brands, and I spun up that separate Shopify storefront and use an app for it and all these things, and I haven't really dug in. I'm curious, have you dug into the Shopify B2B feature set that they're rolling out to non-Plus?
I had a quick look. It looks, when something's quite simple that it is actually complicated. It felt a little bit like that, because it's
all
within
of ecom.
Markets. Yeah, all of ecom. But it's within markets, which is not. I understand why it's within markets, because it's how they divvy up the store and everything. But so people get different experiences. But I didn't. It wasn't clear to me. There's just a little thing in your admin saying you now have B2B, and then you click set up or something like that, and it just takes you to a help article, and just I was kind of hoping it would just send me to the part of Shopify that's B2B. So I feel like people are going to get lost there, but I think once you get the hang of it, I think it's fairly simple, because it's they've now got companies within the customer section, and they've got pricing lists, catalogs, which I think are the pricing lists. So I haven't taken much of a look at it, and I'm sure it's nowhere near as fully fledged out as some of these B2B apps that are been doing it for the last decade probably. But yeah. I do feel bad for those apps though, because it's I don't know how Shopify seems to be taking a little bit of a turn towards developers in that way, because some of these developers have been on the platform for so long, and then there's core features that they were built on, and suddenly they're Shopify is just doing that natively.
Just a little bit of Sherlocking happening in Shopify the last couple of years. Starting to eat a little bit more of other people's lunches. We'll see. It's interesting. Yeah. I'm very curious, because I really like how I run the wholesale platform, how I have a separate subdomain, and the storefront itself is catered very much to the B2B buyer. It's just more simple, more easy to use, less complicated. Things are just laid out more as sort of here's what it is, less marketing in some ways, but the marketing copy and content that's there is hey, this is a quote from a B2B buyer that loves what we do, and here's why. And the price point, the break points for products, and just the product pages are way different. And so I'm not even sure, I need to dig into this at some point. It's lower down on my radar, but I'm not sure if it can replicate the experience that I have right now for B2B buyers to the same way, because my D2C source front is so catered to D2C. And so not sure exactly how that plays out, if you have different templates that you can build or whatnot. And so I'm curious, though. It would be nice to cut out the cost of the third party, because that can add up fast. So it could save me some change. But
yeah, I think probably for someone like you, it's probably not the best tool out there. But for someone who's literally just installed a Shopify B2B app, and all it does is change the pricing schema, and then that's it. I feel that's who it's definitely for. And then I'm sure there are people who make more use of it than that. But but it definitely seems Shopify wants a larger portion of the pie, because they've also released. This reminded me, they've also released price testing, which is just huge, because that's probably even. In some ways even bigger news, because price testing was if you looked for example IntelliGems or something that did price testing, that was ridiculous, $400 a month or something, which no one could, only huge brands could really afford. So yeah,
that's awesome. I'm super excited for that. There's so many exciting Shopify features. This is reminding me that there's the timed scheduling your theme changes, right? That was Launchpad used to do that years ago for I think Plus only, and like that's kind of a complicated process for merchants. And then they have SimGym, which is supposed to kind of do some like simulated A/B tests. Who knows how well it works? But these ideas where it's like, okay, it does seem like they're digging in a little bit more for the smaller end merchant, which is cool, like the smaller end brands. And so I'm excited to dig into these features at some point. when
Yeah, I think it seems to be like the strategy they're taking. I might be wrong, but it seems like the strategy they're taking is instead of, for example, with Plus, where Plus had a lot of features before, and I'm sure they're still going to gate a lot of things behind Plus, but I think they're almost thinking maybe in the realm of slightly higher competition or potential high competition in the next few years. I think they're thinking, well, better to actually have just more merchants by having more features available to them, and then they graduate into a Plus plan, hopefully more of them at some point, than to try and force more people to sign up for Plus. Because like it's basically like if you take away the grassroots side of it, you're not going to have those people move into Plus. So, or at least not as many. So yeah, it certainly seems to be like the sort of strategy they're taking now, which helps us.
do you remember when Shopify Flow was Plus only?
Yeah.
And that's like, I feel like that's still an underrated feature. Like that's one of our most popular episodes for folks. You can go check it out. Like we dug into how we're using it. We both have dozens and dozens of flows set up that are really useful. Like I was on a consulting call a couple days ago with a brand that's switching to Shopify, and I was like, here's the problem domain. Like they wanted to set dates for certain orders and elevate them to the customer. And I was like, you can just set up a meta field and do a Shopify flow, and like you don't need some crazy app or something to do this. It can all just be automated that way. And it's something that's like, I think it's kind of like AI in some ways with Shopify Flow. It's like, where do I even start with this? Like, and there's a lot of templates, which is nice, but it's this open-ended, powerful feature that is hard to find a starting place. And so I think something that I always try and do that helps is like, hey, with AI, I ask AI, how can I do this? But with Flow, it's kind of like, anytime I come into a problem, I'm kind of like, can I do this with Flow? And then ask Sidekick, and Sidekick usually has pretty good ideas to run with it. But that's a great feature. I love that.
Yeah, the only thing I would say to kind of wrap this up is that, so Sidekick I think is good, but I'm slightly annoyed that they're kind of pushing Sidekick more than they are kind of like open access through other AI into Shopify, because I've heard they're working on like a Claude MCP and things like that, but I think Sidekick, if you compare it to like any of like the like good LLMs, it's really not that good. I mean, it's good because it has access to all of Shopify's data, but it's not good. Like it makes a ton of mistakes, like a ton of mistakes.
So many.
Yeah, so I think they just need to like, I wouldn't say scrap it. I think it's probably useful for some people to have it there to pull some data in as opposed to like going through reports. But I would take be able to access my Shopify data through like Claude or something any day over having to try and interact with Sidekick.
100%. Speaking of Claude, have you kept up with all of the stuff that they've been pushing, and like, have you been using it more with your brand?
I've been using it a ton, and I feel it's just so interesting about this stuff is like, I'm even like doing most of it now just in Terminal. Like I'm not doing a lot of stuff in the like. The co-work, yeah, and like I'm not the type of person to be doing this, right? But it gets you. It's so exciting that you just like force yourself to learn it. So yeah, I've been building out a ton of stuff, but they've come up with a few different.
Give me some examples. Give me some. I want to hear what you're like. How are you using it? What can the people learn here?
Okay, so the biggest one that I'm really excited about, which I'm working on at the moment, is, so first of all, just to give a bit of context, I'm working with a new 3PL based in LA, who are actually really good so far, but they don't have an integration with Shopify, if you can believe that. I mean, God knows.
Wow.
But they have like an open API with tons of documentation and like, so they just like sent it all to me. I put into Claude, I gave access to all their documentation, and I literally set up an app that connects our inventory to their inventory, pulls through orders, labels, tracking numbers, everything. And I was like, this is crazy, because they were like, yeah, if you give us like 3 weeks, we'll build the integration for you. And I was like, no, I'm waiting 3 weeks. So I was like, just send me the API stuff and I'll sort it out. And I was like, I was a little bit worried about it, but I was like, this thing is working, like it's incredible.
Wow.
So that's one thing, but actually even more importantly than that, we talked about in a previous episode probably about wanting like resale and stuff like that, and like returns and what you do with them and stuff. So I'm building out my own version, basically, of like a resale option on the site, which basically allows. It has two parts to it. I have resale SKUs. What I'm setting up in Shopify. So basically, when a SKU is available for that product, so if it's the same product but it's the resale SKU of that product, it will have a little like from X price below the buy it now button that kind of shows like a resale, like a resale kind of like a sort of thing. And then it opens up and they can actually add it to cart right from there, as opposed to like being on a separate store or something. But then like on the back end, I'm getting the 3PL on board with this, so hopefully it's all right. But basically, there's like I've set up an app where when a return comes in, they can grade the return based on some parameters I give them, like it's all the same packaging, tags, everything like that. And it has like various different things. And then when they say like they evaluate it and they say, okay, this product's come in, it's almost new or something like that, then it will generate the new barcode for that product based on the barcodes I already have for all those SKUs. So and then they'll scan it, it'll update in their system, and then in the back end of Shopify, it then adds it to that resale SKU. So that resale SKU inventory then updates.
Sweet.
So basically, the idea is like I wanted to just like not lose any product to like any sales to returns, and also understand, not just like lose product to returns, but like understand how much product have I got sitting that's not sellable because it's like not even in sellable condition, or it's it's good enough to sell but I can't sell it at full price, right? So I think I just wanted to get a better understanding of all of that. And now that I was kind of moving to a 3PL where hopefully they've got people who can do this sort of stuff, or they've got automations that can do this sort of stuff, I wanted to build something in there. So I'm hoping to have that ready soon. I'll be able to show you.
Is it a Shopify app or a web app?
So it's a web app. It's a web app because basically I've already got the app that connect that like the in Shopify that connects their inventory to my inventory. So as long as they scan that barcode and they update their inventory, it'll update mine. So it's more just like a web app that they can access. Yeah.
You've got me. You've got me. I was actually just in our warehouse yesterday looking over a bunch of. We've got one product that seems to have a higher reject rate in our QA process than other products, which is not great. And so I've got a bunch of them sitting there, and this would be so nice. And now my wheels are already turning. Like, oh yeah, DIY like resale sort of thing. Because I was like, what do we do with these? Do we, eventually we're putting them in a pile, scratch and dent, and gonna have some sort of warehouse sale. I mean, I don't really have a public warehouse, so it'd be like an online warehouse sale. But I love this idea of building a used section or whatever via the website and everything. Very interesting. Yeah. That's cool.
The only downside, say, to finish it off, is that depending on how big your catalog is, your product catalog back in Shopify can get pretty out of hand.
Yeah, that would be my problem.
If you ask me, it's not such a big deal, but like I basically got the conditions as variant of the resale SKU, right? So if you already had variants of that products, you have to split them out into new products. So it's like if the color was a variant, that needs to be its own product, and then you have the variants as the conditions. But the problem is that it's quite complicated. But the other thing is, I wish Shopify would allow you to kind of almost like have product folders in your inventory, so that you can, if you have like a lot of unlisted products, you don't need to access the whole time. Just have them almost like in like a list, like a folder of unlisted products, so they're not just like you're not just like scrolling through to find like your actual active. And I know they've got filters, but like none of those filters are on by default. You have to filter them every single time you go into the product section, which is just so annoying. And if you've got like a big catalog like yourself, it probably gets really frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest blocker in this whole thing for me, would be like having to do it with 200 plus SKUs, or even like a fourth of that. When you have just a handful of products, like that's, for like a $10 product, I don't want to go through this whole process and like sell it for $5, because it's like I don't know if the ROI is actually there on the time invested. But really curious. This is cool. Keep me informed as you move forward with it. That's cool.
So let me know what you're. Yeah, no. Let me know what you're working on now, because I already know a little bit, but I want everyone to hear it.
So I may or may not have been building the last couple of weeks something that's a combination of a bunch of features that. So I've been using Claude in many parts of my business, sort of as a co-founder of sorts, but basically like to do a lot of things where it's like, look at the last week of emails, analyze them, tell me, give me the next steps of how to improve the emails going forward, what's working, what's not. Same thing with inventory, same thing with special sales that I run, same thing with, what's the other? I've got another monthly, Facebook ads, like analyzing Facebook ads, and basically having all this data, and like I wanted to put it in one place. Like I've got all these different Claude skills that are running, different Claude sort of like chats and stuff. Dealing with cash flow, that's been another huge issue of mine, is like having visibility into what is where, what needs to be paid down ASAP, and like what POs are upcoming, that sort of thing. And everything was kind of fragmented. So I decided to build my own software because that's what I've been doing for the last 10 years, is building websites and software. And it's crazy. Like I'm calling it Ecom OS for now. I don't know if that's going to be the final name or not, but I've got all these different modules set up in it. And I just came up with another one this morning called The Brain, where it's just like Claude in the app where you can ask it whatever you want based on all of the data.
Wow.
So it's a pretty cool it's just crazy so I've been digging deep into Claude coding and using agentic coding and all these things, and like I upgraded to the max tier of Claude because I was hitting the limits so often, and I've set up my workflows really well, where I've got like I'm doing classic dev workflows where I'm doing GitHub issues and PRs and setting up semantic versioning and all these things that may or may not happen in other vibe coding projects, but like it's helpful to track the things. And so I have got like, what do we got here? We got different sections of it. So it's like different modules would be overview, so you can see all the high level analytics at one side, like one page, ads related module, cash flow related module, a journal, so you can see like what has happened on the website. It's like, you make so many little changes, but you never know what changed when. So you can look back, and then also Claude being hooked into this can look back and be like, oh yeah, you changed your cart upsell this date, and your AOV dropped by 10% for the next 2 weeks. I feel like there's just so much potential.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Can I ask you a question on that before you move on? Is that, because I'm really interested in that particularly, does that, when like for the journal, is that you writing the journal, or is it like, so I'm assuming it's logging what it does, right? Is that like logs? And then it can pull from those logs what was done on those dates. Is that right? And then if you want to add in additional stuff, I guess you can.
Yeah, you can. It doesn't have the automated part of it built out yet. It's more just like manual, add an event, like add something that happened, and like here, mystery box sale launched, that sort of thing. I actually have, the hardest part about thinking about the software is like figuring out what to goes where in some ways. And so I do have a log for marketing where it's like different marketing campaigns that run. I've got the email marketing. I've got a calendar set up so you can see like when the sales run or when emails go out, that sort of thing. The events are more like website specific or cash flow specific for the journal part of it. But I may or may not give you some beta access and see what you think about all this if you want.
I'm really excited. Yeah, I would be really cool to see, honestly. I think it's exactly, this is the reason I think this is such a cool idea and such a cool, like so useful for people, is when you're like, there are apps out there that try and be like monolithic apps that try and cover several different, I don't think they've done, it's more like on like, I'd say it's actually more front end stuff they try and cover. Like, a reviews app becomes also a quiz app that also becomes a, whatever. And the idea, and really the only idea, like the plan behind that is just to capture more money from merchants, right? I mean, that's the only reason they do it. Whereas this is like a completely different take. It's like, no, you need, instead of switching between multiple different pieces of software to pull together a strategy, you can have your strategy within one. Like you can literally have it all there, which is just so useful for so many people out there, because that is a hard thing about ecom, is like pulling together numbers from Shopify, and then your bank balance, and then your all this stuff, and then inventory, and like all this different stuff, and it's really hard to kind of understand what's going on in your business from all these fragmented sources.
Yeah, that's basically the goal. And like it's kind of like I was bouncing between Triple Whale and Clio and like Genie when I had it at one point, and like there's even warehouse features that I want to build out that track our raw materials in the warehouse, and there's inventory features, and there's like email reports, and like so many different, and there's even things like it was mentioned in the Slack group a little bit. Someone had said like, oh yeah, I'm kind of building a similar thing and building out a B2B CRM and a few other things. And it's like this scope is tricky because there's so much that goes into ecom, and I don't think I want to tackle everything that's possible under the sun. And
Right.
what's interesting is I mostly built this for my own purposes, and so I have like features that are specific to my brand, certain sales and stuff, and like
Yeah.
I know one of my weaknesses as an operator, and this is really helpful, is like knowing what you're bad at, is like analyzing ads and testing ads and then moving on to the next test and killing the prior test. And so like the ads module is very specific. I've got like a Kanban for testing, and it's like, okay, kill or pass based on certain criteria. And I've already noticed as I started to use Claude, just the Claude GUI basically, when I would go in and check ads weekly, like I was noticing improvements in operations and efficiency and everything. And so that's been tricky for me as an operator to stay in that regimented process of like, oh yeah, go weekly and check this thing, go check weekly this thing. And so having it all sort of in one place where I can bounce between these different things and have insights, and then like I think the extra cream on the top kind of thing is like, oh yeah, then having the AI plug into all of this and like analyze and next steps. And I feel like another thing that I've been building out in Claude is when I do a new product drop, there's so many components to that. There's like the Instagram social media posts, there's the copy for that, there's the emails that go out, like I do different types of emails for different products. There's ads, there's like a few other things that I am clearly forgetting off the top of my head, but it's like a 7-part to-do list almost. And so I wanted to build out something that would, and I've sort of got that structured a little bit in my Basecamp for my people to do, but it's not as robust as it could be. And it's not, you kind of have to like bounce between where it's like, okay, here's the product, here's the description, build the website page for it kind of thing, like build out the copy and then write the emails and then write the copy for the static post that goes up. And there's like 7 steps to it. And I was like, all right, let's consolidate this down and make this straightforward.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think one of the things the problem with, say, I mean, it's not the same, but if you look at like a project management app or something like Asana, it's probably a good example of a situation where, or ClickUp, is where they have a really hard time being perfect for everybody because there are so many different use cases for that. Like, an agency, you're an e-commerce brand, you're a corporate company of some kind. It's just crazy, like how many use cases they have to be. They have to just sort of become flexible for. And the great thing about building something for a very specific niche, and especially for yourself, is that you don't have to do that. You can make the choices that only affect you or the category of business you're in, which I think makes a big difference. I wanted to ask you quickly about the Claude side of things I think because probably a lot of people are probably wondering, because I've thought about this so I think you're doing that through Claude's APIs. Is that right? So you have
the
Anthropic's API, yeah.
Anthropic,
but what I was thinking is, because I've been testing that a little bit on something, and obviously one of the things with Claude is like you have all these markdown files and skills and things within, like, locally on your computer. Have you worked out, because obviously when using the API, I'm assuming it doesn't have access to any of that, or is there a way of it having access to the same repository of like skills and like knowledge documents that can help it when it's even within something that's not the Claude app or Claude code, it can still have that level of insight?
Yeah, I'm not sure because I haven't got quite to that integration step yet, but I am curious. Like, I want to infuse there's a lot of skills out there that are ecom specific, and like getting that knowledge, and it might be as simple as like import this and save this, and maybe there's even like a settings module that I can build in the app for Claude skills that are, and it's like, hey, link to this GitHub. If there's updates on that Claude skill in GitHub, pull in the latest and use that in your engine to render cash flow insights or something like that. That could be interesting. I know that it has the database, so it's got access to the database with all the data in it for the different things, and that's what it's going to draw inference from. But I haven't got to the actual like integrate it and see how it works yet. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, part of the reason I asked that as well is because I think Claude has released like managed agents, I think, which I've only taken a very brief look at, which is kind of like, I guess
it's like yesterday.
It was yesterday. Oh wow, yeah. I was looking at a video on it. Someone put on YouTube. They'd already like dived right into it, but it was interesting because again, it's still very much like API like. It's using the language model, and it's like they're performing certain actions, but linking it into something like another piece of software like ClickUp or Asana or whatever it is, Notion or something. But again, one thing they were saying is like a lot of the issue there is that it still doesn't actually have anything beyond, like it doesn't have specific learning there because it's still being pulled through from the API. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see kind of how that whole thing evolves, especially with like agentic stuff. I think that's kind of where the big questions are, is like when you want something to go ahead and do something for you, if it's just pulling in from an external source, how much knowledge does it have? But yeah.
Yeah, how generic is it versus how specialized? Yeah, that makes sense. I have noticed as I've been building this out, like one takeaway, and this is more on the coding side of things, is like I will save if there's like bugs or things that are broken, I will save, or like preferences. It's like, you can fix that and move on, or you can fix it and save it into Claude's memory essentially and be like, hey, save this in the markdown file that you use when you write the code. And so I think a similar type approach could apply to this, where it's like, okay, let's feed it the knowledge that it needs to improve cash flow management or something like that, and save that so that it can access that and reference it as it goes. But we'll see where it goes. That was a lot about it. I know that, we can move on.
Yeah, there's one thing I wanted to say as well. Well, I thought it'd be quite fun is that because you know how obviously now technically Shopify has got an integration with ChatGPT, and I don't know if it's just ChatGPT now or if it's other AI chat interfaces, but there's a big talk about like GEO, SEO, but also like is this going to be a big traffic source? I think a lot of people like speculative about it, whether it's actually going to bring in. And I was wondering, like, have you seen any sales come through as ChatGPT as a referrer in the last, say, 30 days?
I haven't looked. I don't think my brand is big enough, and I know that that's like a huge talking point, especially with a lot of my clients on the consulting side. And I have been working on that and optimizing websites and stuff for some of my clients, and it's like there's a lot of unknown out there, and there's a lot of snake oil salesmen with AI optimization and that sort of thing. And I feel like at the end of the day, it's almost like I've been doing a lot of research on this. Like if you optimize for AI, in a lot of ways, you're kind of optimizing just for people too. It's like they're kind of the same. Like your customers, like you want a lot of the keywords in your collection pages, for example, or like if your products are a certain way, like let's say I have a collection of Mount Rainier t-shirts, like I should build content around that so that the SEO and AI SEO stuff can read that. And it's like, okay, build some maybe landing pages or blog pages that talk about like why are Mount Rainier t-shirts are the best, or build collection pages that have those words in them. And it's kind of like I feel like right now especially there's a lot of like hubbub of people racing around trying to optimize for AI, and I kind of think a lot of that necessarily, it's like you don't need to install. I know there's a lot of apps thrown around. It's like you don't necessarily need that latest app. It's kind of just like you need to optimize. The same thing is true for SEO in a lot of ways. That's true for AI searching. Yes. And so
I think
I haven't
scarily
looked,
similar. Yeah. I mean, I think there definitely was a way to game it with SEO at the beginning, and it got less and less so. I'd be interested to see if it goes that way. But like I was asking, because I've also looked. If I ask Sidekick, for example, again, this is typical Sidekick. It gives me a different answer every time I ask. But like yesterday, I thought I looked at this the first time yesterday, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I saw something up. I was like, I wonder if and they said, oh, you've had one sale in the last 30 days from ChatGPT. I asked it just now, and it says 0. And then so who knows? But I mean, I'm just wondering if like this whole thing is actually could be that big of a sales driver for brands, really. I mean, I'm sure there's very specific use like niches and things where maybe they're going to do really well out of this. But I think it feels to me like for the majority of us, this isn't like a massive revenue opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With anything AI, I feel like there's a lot of hype, and there's a lot of hype driven by people that maybe have a bias for certain reasons. And so we'll see. I think it's kind of like we're all on the like very cutting edge of this, like on the tip of the cliff kind of thing. Like there's no need to like overwork, I think, on it. And yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's going to be pretty interesting the next couple of years, of course, next couple of days and weeks as things are flying along. Go ahead.
No, go.
I was just curious, like, have you been doing anything lately that's been working on your shop?
I'd say, I mean, not to go into detail, but like I have been dealing with some issues in terms of meta ads and things, and so I've been putting more budget into Google, and I'm actually surprised that I'm seeing sales like are not too bad off Google ads, because I kind of never really thought. I don't know, I never put a lot of budget into Google ads, and so I think that's been helping a lot. And then I think honestly, like the whole side of things where I've just been a little bit more careful over the cost, like in terms of fixed costs, quite honestly, as being the biggest opportunity for the business so far. I think I'm just operating at better margins, which has really helped in terms of just having a little bit of cash left to pay everything. So I think AI has been hugely helpful. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about AI, but I think it just feels like it's given me an empowerment to, and I think it's not necessarily like you shouldn't replace everything with AI. Like I'm not saying that. You shouldn't try and like vibe code every single Shopify app on your store, because I think we're going to be in trouble. But like I think there's certain things where I would have had to wait a long time, or I wouldn't have done it at all, even just like from a creative perspective, in terms of creating creative for certain different things. Moving into Google Ads, needing different formats for creative, and like just having help to do that faster has been hugely helpful. So that's kind of like, I'm just feeling like more efficiency in the business, which is really helpful when you're smaller and you've got a very small team. And I think I've just really, the last, say, February till now is when I've started to feel that.
Interesting. Was it you that told me that landing pages were working well for you, or was that someone else? Or did we talk about that last pod? I can't remember.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean, until I lost access to Facebook ads, landing pages are working really well. I think, I say landing pages, I think an offer, I think we talked about this last time a little bit, but yeah, like basically, I think landing pages in my opinion, landing pages allow you to like better convey an offer, but I think there are plenty of ways that you can do that otherwise. But I just think that like having a compelling offer, and I don't just mean in terms of like save this, get this, I mean like just like the value proposition of what you're selling being accurately conveyed to somebody who's coming on your site for the first time is really important. I think I've not put enough emphasis on that, and I think when I've started to like really focus on making it as clear as possible what the value proposition is, I've seen better results, I think, and so that's certainly helped.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah. What about yourself?
I'm not sure. I'm kind of looking forward to summer and working on like future products and stuff. I feel like it's been a bit of a struggle the last couple weeks and stuff, and always kind of fighting the same old. I do think unfortunately, still saying the buzzword of AI. Like I feel like Claude has been very helpful as sort of being like a co-founder of sorts, with a lot of figuring out like what to do where. I've been leaning into custom products a lot more, building out custom stuff for folks and working on some really cool stuff, because it's kind of like leaning into the expertise of like what I'm good at and my brand is good at, which is like making really good products and designing really good products, like me and my team. And so that's been basically like I've got a huge drop that I'm working on for a huge brand in the area that's a big company here. Like, well, they're not a big company. They're like a very well established, well known small business in the area. It's going to be unreal, and they're opening up a new location. And so like I've been working on a capsule drop of apparel for them, which is super fun to like lean into my expertise in that realm and do it for someone else. And yeah, so that's been fun. But I feel like Ecom OS has been a lot of my like brain power lately, and it's just been so fun to lean into agentic coding. And I'm excited to like, it should be like within the next couple of days, I'll roll this out with like real data with my company and like be able to use it. Cause I've built out, it's a big thing. Like if anyone else is looking to build this, I've been running my computer almost 24/7 for the last like 2 weeks doing coding on it. So it's pretty cool. What you can make these days.
Yeah, it's really cool. I think that probably brings us to a good conclusion, because I think at the end of the day, I think what I'm trying to say here is I think we're actually hitting a bit of a good period for ecom. I think I think we've all been, it's like through this difficult situation, and post COVID really, where it took a long time, where things were quite soft. It took a lot of time for things to get back on their feet, and I think a lot of brands suffered. I mean, we didn't talk about this, but like say Allbirds selling for literally like 99, like 1%, sorry, of like its original value.
Oh,
It's a 99%
ouch.
reduction. Yeah, and I think, but there's been plenty of like those stories over the past few years, and I think a lot. It's, meta ads have been tough. Tariffs have been tough, and of course tariffs continue to be tough. So I'm not saying like we're 100% out of the woods, but things are looking brighter. And I think with the AI thing that's going on, I think the biggest opportunity is actually with brands, because I think they stand to win the most, or at least one of the the actors here that stand to win the most. I think so. I think there's a lot of opportunity coming up now, and I think as software gets, at least base level software gets a little bit more accessible to everybody, I think it's going to be physical products are going to probably hopefully have a heyday right now, where we're not quite at the situation yet where that can be entirely automated by robots and things. So I think we're in a good situation.
Yeah. I like it. That's a good take. Cool. Well, thanks everyone. Leave us a review. Let us know what you think, and drop us some comments on the YouTubes. We'll catch you later.
See you.